Security in Abuja is a very serious issue, and the FCTA administration is doing what it can to prevent these security issues from happening in the first place. One of these methods is the confiscation and crushing of motorcycles operating in areas they're not supposed to. Is this a reasonable preventive measure? Is it causing more harm than good? My guests oversee this operation and offer some explanations. In our focus on the FCT, we followed the team on these motorcycle crushing exercises. And as we do every week, we run through the major stories from Nigeria's seat of power. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dateline Abuja. Hello and welcome to Dateline Abuja. I am Kayla Magwa. Let's begin with a wrap-up of major stories from Nigeria's presidency.
President Muhammadu Buhari presided over the wreath laying ceremony marking the 2023 Armed Forces Remembrance Day. The ceremony, which was held at the National Arcade in the Three Arms Zone, witnessed the inspection of a Guard of Honor by the President. The Guard of Honor was mounted by detachments of the Nigerian Army and Navy, the Air Force and the Nigerian Legion before the wreath laying ceremony. President Buhari has urged African leaders to place a premium on youth development and actionable ideas towards the promotion of skill acquisition while discouraging idleness. The president stated this while speaking at the 2023 African Conference for Peace held in the Islamic Republic of Mauritania. When the president returned to the country, he met with Governor Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa State. Addressing State House correspondents after the meeting, the governor used the opportunity to speak on the discovery of oil in the state, as well as the chances of the APC in the 2023 general elections.
Chances are bright, chances are excellent, both at the national and at the state level. For us in Nasarawa, if I can speak mostly for Nasarawa, in Nasarawa, as you know, the three senators happen to be from the same party, the governor from the same party, 20 out of the 24 members of House of Assembly, all APC, and we have done the best we can, for the state. And I think people appreciate that. So for that reason, we think our chances are excellent, and we strongly believe we should be able to win the election.
The governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, was at the State House in his first official public appearance since he left the country on his annual vacation in December. The CBN governor was part of a delegation of Arab Bank for Economic Development led by its Director General, Mr. Sidi Ould Tah, to the presidential villa. President Buhari received Mr. Emefiele with the words, "You're welcome back," amid speculations of him facing arrest by the Department of State Service. Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo presided over the first Federal Executive Council meeting this year. At the council chamber, quite unusually, over 20 ministers were physically in attendance at the meeting. The council approved a further 1.35 billion naira for the remediation of impacted sites in Ogoni land.
Because of the desire to ensure effective supervision of these projects, particularly the 5 water schemes and the 16 upcoming water schemes, and the proposed shoreline remediation, and also the proposed Center of Excellence to be built within Ogoni land. And in view of the fact that we are going to inspect on a regular basis experts from outside the country, there's a need to provide project vehicles so that they can effectively inspect, supervise, and monitor the remediation exercise. So FEC today approved the sum of 1,354,016,250 naira only.
The council also approved 2.29 billion naira for the procurement, assemblage of training aircraft and stimulators in Zaria. The aviation minister boasted that the administration has fulfilled her promise of assembling a local aircraft.
I'm happy to announce today is a reality. We will indeed assemble the Magnus aircraft, and we'll continue to do so. And not too distant future, by God's grace, the industry of civil aviation will begin to manufacture right here in country aircraft. But we're beginning by assembling these training aircraft. And it will happen very soon. So the memoranda has been passed in council. The manufacturer of the airplane, it's based in Hungary and has a company, a local company called Ingenious. It will be done in Zaria, and the total contract sum is 2,296,897,404 naira, with completion period of 18 months.
Federal lawmakers held the first plenary session for the year this week. The prominent issue that came up on the floor of the both chambers include the 2023 general election, as well as Ways and Means advances, which the Senate President warned officials of his executive arm of government to urgently furnish the lawmakers with the details required to process the President's request for the restructuring of a 23.7 trillion naira loan.
Between now and the next week, when we hope to close, we have some other things to attend to. But this Ways and Means, I think, stands out.
The Minister of Labour and Employment, Mr. Chris Ngige, has presented certificates of registration to the Congress of University Academics and the National Association of Medical and Dental Academics, two breakaway labour unions from the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU.
There must be disagreement and tussle. But when you take it to ridiculous end, it becomes a problem. The one in UK, the people have brought out a timetable for they're going on strike. 18 days. They staggered it. In a week, they would do only 2 days. They staggered it and continued. Because if you go on a strike, in every clime, the law is clear. You don't get compensated for being on strike for the period. No salary, no emolument. It's clear. In Nigeria, it's Section 43 of the Trade Dispute Act. If you withdraw your services from your employer, he is permitted to keep his enterprise afloat.
The Director General of the Nigerian Mining Cadastral Office, Mr. Obadiah Nkum, has disclosed that the agency has generated 14.59 billion naira from 2018 to 2022 to remit all to the Treasury single account. He stated this at the 63rd session of the State House ministerial briefing.
I can tell you without mincing words that subsequently we are going to have a very good increase, because even as at then, we tend to form over 50%, or about 50% of the revenue of the mining sector. And irrespective of that, what are the components, what are the things that we use to receive? In fact, in our revenue generation, it's nothing but application fees, processing fees, and then annual service fee, which one can call it like ground rent in other places. We are not in charge of activity, which is revenue, royalties, and so on and so forth.
Welcome back. Despite massive advocacy from the Federal Capital Territory Administration, areas like Garki, Asokoro, Lugbe, and the city center are still inundated with motorcycles, commercial motorcycles. In a combined effort, these motorcycle riders were apprehended in various parts of Abuja, their motorcycles seized and crushed. This is the 5th edition in this motorcycle crushing series in Abuja, and the plan is to reach zero-level tolerance. Please watch this.
January 2023 ushered in the 5th phase of the motorcycle seizing and crushing exercise in the nation's capital. The FCTA has not pronounced a total ban on commercial motorcycles operation in Abuja. However, there are districts where they are not allowed to operate. In 2006, the use of motorcycles as a means of commercial transportation was restricted in the federal capital city due to several issues bordering on traffic violations and facilitating the movement of criminals, including drug traffickers. They are only allowed to operate in satellite towns and restricted from operating in the city center as well as major highways. Wuse, Gariki, Central Business District, Asokoro, parts of Kubwa and parts of Lugbe are out of bounds to commercial motorcycles in Abuja. Notwithstanding the restrictions, the defiant bike owners and operators have remained adamant in flaunting the partial ban. Tricycle and motorcycle operators represent a very important economic bloc in most states, including the Federal Capital Territory, as they provide an alternative form of public transportation services for the population. Many residents can commute short distances using this mode of transportation. There are divergent views by residents on the regulations of the commercial motorcycles.
The bonding of Okada in FCT, I may say, is good because it's happened for Lagos. Because if you look at, sometimes you see a gridlock in the town, in the city, and Okada they'll be going inside, driving anyhow, brushing some people's cars. When you talk to them, they will start harassing you, especially those people from the north, like these outside people. But I don't say that they should bond them all over the city. They should please give them another area that they will be working.
Abuja isn't the only place where commercial motorcycles are banned. Lagos State is the latest to ban the operation of motorcycle operators. Before then, Rivers State had banned their operation in 2008 in Port Harcourt to curtail the activities of militants. Akwa Ibom did the same in 2011 for only Uyo, the state capital. Enugu followed in that step in the same year 2011, though the law was enacted in 2014. In the same year 2014, Kaduna also banned commercial motorcycles from operating in the city center. At the height of the Boko Haram attacks in Kano State, the state's road traffic agency announced a ban on Okada operations in 2017. The fifth phase of the commercial motorcycle season and crushing exercise has the team seizing motorcycles from Abuja city center, the Asokoro axis and the Gariki axis. The motorcycles are taken to the impound lot. They are hosed down as most of them still have fuel in them. The bulldozer is brought in and the motorcycles are crushed. While there are questions about the effectiveness of this method to curb insecurity in the nation's capital, it is pertinent to note that the Abuja Master Plan did not make provisions for commercial motorcycles and tricycles to operate in the capital city, and Section 42, Subsection 1 of the Roads Traffic Act of the FCT forbids it.
My guests on the program are Dr. Abdulateef Bello, the Directorate of Road Traffic Services, popularly known as Vehicle Inspection Officers, and Mr. Atai Karo, the Senior Special Assistant to the FCT Minister on Monitoring, Inspection and Enforcement. They help answer the questions around this motorcycle crushing exercise and say residents are thankful for the sanity this exercise has brought to neighborhoods, especially in the city center. Dr. Abdulateef Bello, Mr. Ikarata, welcome to Dateline Abuja.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kayla.
We've started the year, and you have started again, Mr. Atta. But I'm going to get to what's really going on, because I've been watching all these videos. There are a few questions that we have about what's going on. We understand what this is for, this need to sanitize parts of the FCT. We get that, and you go into that in the course of the interview. But let's talk about some of the questions people have. Number one, when you arrest people or you seize these motorcycles from these riders, why do you crush them? I'm going to start with you.
Okay. First of all, The crushing is not something that was, done out of malice or sentiment. It was as a result of, normal procedures followed by government, that if all these motorcycles were impounded and then the owners were not coming to answer for their offense, and after a few months, precisely 3 months, then we'll have to declare them forfeited after obtaining forfeiture order from the court of law. So
when they're forfeited, why don't you sell them?
No, if you
because they use bikes in other parts of the country.
No, government is not supposed to recycle, materials, particularly those that were confiscated under a very, serious offense. And naturally, what we do is that because if you do that, they will finally find way back again to the system. So what we do is to crush them and then still, sell them to, those who deal with in metal business, and they pay certain amount to the coffers of government.
Okay, so people actually buy the metal.
No, of course, at least enough to defray the cost of, our operations.
So let's talk a bit about this sanitization exercise, Mr. Atta. Some people you've explained over the years, this is supposed to be a security measure. It's great. My neighborhood has benefited from this situation, But many people have said that when you're looking at security, when you isolate people, it kind of puts a bridge between government and people. And when you continue these demolishings and seizing of motorcycles and things like that, what you're basically doing is you're isolating yourself from the people. So if there's an intelligence that you were supposed to be able to get from the people, you would not be able to get it because the people see themselves as your enemy. How do you respond to that?
No, it depends on which of the people you are talking about in quote here. In question, it's a security threat. Now, when you talk about getting people isolated, it's the question of you seize their Okada, you impound them and you crush them, and so they are embittered about government. They're no longer wanting this government to work. It's not true. Most persons who are victims of Okada are already crying out that, look, this cannot work in Abuja city center. The Okadas we are seizing here and crushing under the DRTS department of the FCTA, we're working with them very closely, are those that operate in areas like the HNS East, Hybrid area of Guzape, Asukoro, Gariki, the airport road corridor that it shouldn't be, Area 1, Durumi area, Jahi area. We don't seize Okada in part of Kubwa we do. In part of Kubwa we do, maybe not the far area, part of Kubwa we do along the road stretch, but part of Kubwa we do because their menace there had become very, very provocative.
Duse
Alhaji we do, but not in Duse Makaranta. Duse Alhaji, the one by the roadside. Then the other areas that Okada allowed to operate, like in Jukwe, what do you call it? Gwagwalada, Abaji, Kuje. We don't go there. So these are the people who contravene. And when you go to actually apprehend Okada riders and impound their vehicles, what you see is that more than 90% of them carry dagger. They carry dagger. Very dangerous weapons to do what? That's the big question.
There are people who would say that we do not have sufficient transportation in the nation's capital. If you go to Wuse 2, for instance, there's always a crowd of people at that junction. You know the junction I'm talking about. It's not far from the EFCC office in town. There's always a crowd of people waiting for transport there. At this Guzape here as well, there's always a crowd of people at this junction waiting for transportation. We see it at the Federal Secretariat. Some people will argue with you that Okada riders provide an alternative.
We've had a series of engagements with their union and they've resolved, and then we have even put a peg, a signpost that, look, this is where you are supposed to stop, this is where operation should commence and stop, and they all agreed. But themselves understood the fact that there are some recalcitrant members among them that will never yield to such instruction. And then in most of the recoveries we have made, they have actually assisted us. The Union of Okadas have actually assisted us because they know too that we are helping them.
The last time he crushed with the minister's approval, the first one was about 2,000 was crushed. Yes. Then you have about 1.5 or 1.8 crushed again before you now enter this impound and crush immediately, which he started in November with all of us partnering and working closely with him. I don't know the exact figure now.
Well, at least for the instant, crushing, we've done over I think about 2,700 for now. Started in November. Like
2,700 motorcycles?
Yes.
Since November?
Yes, like he said, is more or less a daily routine for us to pick, you understand, few numbers. And then what we do, those that we pick in the guise of traffic nuisance, we are kept in our impoundment site, waiting for a period of time for them to come over to, be handed over their charges and all that. Definitely because of the fact that, they know for sure that they might be prosecuted. Some of them don't come back. So we organize crushing after we have gotten a sizable number seeking for future order from the courts.
We've got to a point where both the removal of commercial motorcycle, both the removal of shanty, bacha, illegal structures, you find the community sometimes even telling you, give us bulldozer. We will use them ourselves. Give us bulldozer, give us cover. We will use them ourselves to clear the area of illegality. Everyone is now conscious that we must make the city to work and make ourselves live in Abuja and live safely. Otherwise, these bad guys who are coming everywhere will overrun the system. And we thank God it's working very, very well.
But before we go, just a message to people who are still riding Okada in the wrong parts of town illegally. Just a message to all of them.
I think it's a wrong business. So this is just the advice that please don't invest in commercial motorcycles, especially in the federal capital city. Is the wrong business. I'll always try to be on the side of the law because it's cheaper. Yeah.
Well, thank you both so much for being with us.
I think, Killer, we must drop one thing, which must not slip this. Most of those Okadas, the Director DRTS men, impound, are not owned by the Okada riders. Sometimes you hardly see them cry. Once in a while they cry. Most times they just leave it and they run away. Many persons are buying Okada for them. Some buy as much as 200. Now that we are working with him under the impound and crush, if they crush your Okada, for me it's painful because one Okada is about 520, 480 to 520. That's over $500,000 naira. That's real cash. And sometimes we are crushing up to 400. And we're not happy doing that. So don't buy Okada for them to operate in illegal area. Give them to go and operate in Karishi, Orozo, Kuje. But if you buy for them in Gariki, he's here. That's what he does. He crushes his Okada, and that is the appointment given to him to crush. And he plans to crush more in the new year.
Well, thank you both so much, Dr. Bello and Mr. Ikaro, for being with us on Dateline Abuja, and good luck with all the work that you have ahead of you.
Thank you very much, Kela.
Thanks to my guests and to everyone who spoke to us today on the program. Bringing sanity to neighborhoods in the city center in Abuja is crucial for the security of the Federal Capital Territory. And we've seen motorcycles being used to perpetrate all kinds of crime, from purse snatching to actual terrorist attacks. And we heard Dr. Bello and Mr. Atta. Don't practice commercial motorcycling in areas where they are prohibited. The exercise will continue throughout 2023. If you live in a neighborhood where crime is rife, speak up. And as we say all the time, find out the contact details for the divisional police officer in the area command where you reside and keep it on your phone. Please stay safe, verify information before spreading it, and remain calm. That's Dateline Abuja this week. Please let us know the happenings in your neighborhood using the social media handles showing right now on your screen. Thank you so much for watching. I am Kayla Magwa. See you next time.